Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. And joining me for this one is going to be Simon, Sham, and then Michael M-Tashed. What's up, man? How you been?
I've been good. I've been busy-ish with life. We got a growing family. My son is a hockey player, and I'm always at the rink because he's playing AAA hockey and talking to scouts and stuff. And it's been
Oh,
pretty
serious?
wild. Oh yeah, he's
Wow.
he's in a very good hockey player. He's incredibly fast, and I mean, I don't know where he goes with it, but he
Yeah.
enjoys it. So he's having a lot of fun with it. He said this is the most fun year he's ever had, and it's like that's the dream. You
There you
know,
go.
like
Yeah.
that's what
That's
you
so
want.
cool.
I don't want you to be getting the most goals, the most assists. Like I want you to be having the most fun because at the end of the day, it's a game, and we've got some crazy parents. Like no, legitimate. There's three
Dude.
dads. There's three dads that are banned from the rink. They're not
Oh,
allowed to the
no.
rink. So I
Three?
mean,
Like,
Oh,
come
that-
on,
three.
guys.
dude,
Not just one.
it's crazy.
How old is your son?
He's 14.
Okay. Oh, okay. So he's getting to that point where it's like, the gloves are getting
Serious
knocked
now.
off.
It's getting serious.
Like-
And a lot of the games there are like WHL scouts and they're like watching and marking
Right.
stuff down, and the kids are stressed up and they're like looking up, they have a bad shift and they're like, oh god, they saw that. So
yeah.
I get that side of it, but the parents are way more unhinged.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
So my son played a lot of decent level rugby, and it's the same type of stuff. Like you could see the coach, he'd be looking over and just like, the kids are fine. It's you lot that I cannot bear to like deal with. And you churn through these coaches, not because they don't enjoy coaching the kids. It's because they can't bear to deal with the parents. It's just like,
You know what?
there are tournaments. It's like, look, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to try and win, or do you want us to try and have like a participation? We can do
Right.
either way,
Yeah.
but we can't do both. Like it's one way or the other. Like, let us know which way we should go here.
When I was
So-
coaching Ben and he was 9, we lost a game 4-3. We had a power play. We pulled the goalie. We tried to tie it up and everything. And I just let the next guy go out, who was going to go out as the sixth man. And a dad approached me in the hallway, and he's like, "Why didn't you put my son out there? Are you playing to win? Are you playing to lose?" And I said, "I'm playing for these kids to enjoy the game of hockey."
Yeah.
And I understand that his kid was the best player on the team, absolutely, but he had just come off. There's another guy there, and I was like, if I put him out there, I'm telling that kid and everyone else, you aren't good enough. We win as a team, we lose as a team, and it's like 9 years old. There's people
9.
starting-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
this isn't
come
this
on,
isn't
like,
like yeah.
come on.
Come on,
they're
guy.
babies. Like they're trying to play the game, So
That can
gotta-
crush your self-esteem. I mean, I mean, this is one of those things. So yeah, like I've talked about it a couple times, coaching, climbing, and these parents, because it's a very individual sport, right? I mean, it's team, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like if you're doing well, and this is kind of true of all sports at that level in a lot of ways, right? Scouts are always looking at at how you play with the team, but they're looking at you as an individual, but even more so in climbing. And man, there were these parents that would stalk around as a group, and that would just be like around the same age, like 9, 10, 11, and they would just be like taking video to try to find people that had messed up on something so that they could like do a rules call to try to get their kids or their friends' kids to the next thing. And we're like, guys,
Like, come on.
it's rough, but that's amazing that your son's competing at that level and having a good time
And enjoying it. That's the main thing, right?
Not sad about it. You're not the guy who's like, you need to play. This is important.
Well, I never said that. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But I guess sort of wrapping things back towards Godforge and Fateless. Like, Mike, you've been one of the OGs, one of the guys who's basically seen us go from 0 to now having a game build and assets in game. I guess firstly, it'd be really interesting to see from your perspective, how that's been as someone who's kind of like checking in on regular basis. But you're not in the mix of it every single day, but actually you get to see kind of things evolve over time.
Yeah, it's been fun because I remember reaching out because I'd heard that you guys were working on this project, specifically Simon, and I was like, yeah, I want to be part of this. It's so interesting. And one of the reasons why I got into it is because I know Simon was a businessman before he was a gamer. And so I was like, if anyone's going to make this work in that community, it's Simon. And right. And I was like, this guy,
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure,
Simon, no pressure, but this is all I need.
Right. And then I remember seeing like the first kind of the gray box levels, and I was like, oh, this is so cool how it's coming to life. But then, every time I would come to one of the meetings, it's like, here's what we're talking about. And then you guys would leak me like another little thing. It was so crazy seeing the progression and how it would build on top of each other. And for a while, I was like, oh, this looks really good. And that was like the alpha, like such old stuff.
Yeah.
And it was such bad quality compared to what we have now. That's the funny thing is I was like, damn, this is starting to look good. And now I look at it, I'm like, holy, now it's looking good. Like it really has built up. So it's been a fun process. And it's almost interesting because a lot of the community that are watching this or just are going to play the game, they didn't see some of that. And I think they would have been impressed with it. And now kind of where we're building to now, it's hitting kind of that next level where, just the quality of the models, some of the animations are coming together, like just the level design, like just the little maps that you're playing on is like, that looks great. So it's been cool to see that all evolve.
That'd be a fun retrospective video actually, where we just kind of did like, like a little history. I mean, I think we've done one or two of these, but a little history of like, hey, this is where this started and this is where it went. I mean, and when we finally release our cinematic, that's going to be, oh man, that's going to be such a good one.
I keep coming across because my Google Drive will get like full. And remember our first meetings, I used to record them and post them in like our documents. Yep. I keep wondering if I should delete them, but I'm like, well, someday this might be cool footage.
Hold, man.
Yeah, even just some key moments from it, like. But speaking of the cinematic, has anyone seen it yet?
No,
I'm about to leak
we've
it.
seen it.
No, get out of here.
Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say is, dang.
Yeah, GDC, we're doing like a live launch event. So basically, a month from now, from this recording, it will be out, and the community will get to see it basically straight after that. So that, man, I can't wait. Like it's been one of the most fun things that I've ever worked on. And
I can't wait to see the reactions to that.
Total. Yeah.
Every piece of it. Well, and what's interesting about that is it's a really just like a mini version of what's happening with the game, kind of what you're talking about, right? Like we started off with like, oh, well, here's this idea for what the cinematic's going to be, and then it's like, okay, here's some boards, here's what here's what it'll kind of look like, right? With these characters or whatever, and then we're like, yeah, this is so fun, this is going to be so great, and then there's that period where it's like, all right, that guy's kind of looking weird. Like this guy, the guy's in, but I don't know. And then for a while, it's like you're grinding. You're doing like you're putting in for to go back to the game. You're putting in the animations. You're putting in then the VFX. Then you're putting on the sound effects, and you're making sure that the camera is doing the right things. All these things, all these little polished things. But then when you get to that final like 5-10%, everything you do is so fun because it's like, wow, that looks awesome. That now looks like what I pictured in my mind when all the way back at that very beginning of when we started this thing. And we're getting closer to that. Like there's pieces of the project where we're starting to have that, right? Where it's like, okay, this environment, like you said, the environment, here's the lighting. Okay, wow, that makes it pop or whatever it is.
I think one of the most eye-opening things was discussing that skirt. How it's like, okay, we've got the model, we've got the clothing, but it's like, well, that skirt needs its own physics because if they step forward and they're slashing or using their staff, like their body moving would have to impact that skirt. And if you don't fix that, you're clipping through it. And it's just like, wow.
And it's all stuff that you just assume is like, oh, that's straight out the tin. It's just going to work. You don't need to worry about that stuff. And then you see these guys like working through each of these different layers of complexity, right? So it's, it's the 2D into 3D. How do we make sure we get all this modeling done right with the amount of polygons we've got? And then it's, hold on a minute. You've put a skirt on this guy. He's got a cape. He's got hair, which we need to animate. Like all of these things. And we've got the animators like, have you thought through this for 1 second about all of this crap I've got to now deal with? Like, it's.
Well, we thought about it. We just figured you could handle it. It's fine.
Well, that's what like we took Lucas to I think it was like Pixar World or whatever. Like it was like at the Space and Science Center here, and it just talks about all the animation. And Sully from Monsters Inc. It took like days and days and days to render out his fur, because there was every piece of fur had to move with the wind and had its own physics so that it looked realistic. And it's just like insane how much it takes just to make their clothing work, their hair work, the shine of their blade. Like it's just, I didn't realize it. And that's why everyone is like, I'm going to go make a game. No, you're not. Yeah. No, you're not. You're not going to make a game. Even if you hire a team, you're not going to make a game. Even if you hire a team and you have $2 million, you're not going to make a game, because getting it to launch, getting it out there, getting the network, there's so many things that people don't realize. And it is a colossal undertaking. So even Godforge launching is a miracle. And like it's amazing how it's coming together.
Yeah, we're super psyched about it. So I guess, coming back to what we should discuss here, talking about the things that we want to launch with. One of the big things that we've kind of gone back and forth about, I don't even know how many times we've talked about this, but is the roguelike or roguelite part of the game. And I think we came into this saying, hey, let's just talk about, we got Mtesh on. He digs this type of content.
My favorite.
Type of thing.
I'm a roguelike.
Let's
talk
about it, man. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Like so like, maybe just kick it off with like what have you been playing lately? What's been getting you excited, and then we can go from there.
Mm-hmm. So if you are not familiar with the roguelike genre, a roguelike is you've got kind of your one life and you're going to go through your run and you get different upgrades and bonuses along the way. And so typically in your first few runs, you might get to the first boss and die, depending on the game, or the first couple of bosses and then you die. But to go all the way through and beat it, speedrunners can't even do that, because you incrementally get stronger and unlock better things. And it is something where you do run after run and you kind of want the stars to align. And it's that feeling of, when am I going to get the run where I get the best weapon, the best bonuses? It's a very interesting thing, and it's very replayable. Which boss is going to be the Act 1 boss and the Act 2 boss? And the issue with those games is if you don't have enough variety, then it does feel too samey. And if you don't have, meaningful choices, it feels like, well, what's the point anyways? And so for me, I've always been like, if you're going to do a roguelike, you got to do it right. I've done roguelike, similar roguelike games in kind of gacha games. And a lot of the times they miss the mark, and it just doesn't have enough depth. But Binding of Isaac, there's almost too many choices on the upgrades and the boss. Like Binding of Isaac is insane. Enter the Gungeon, amazing as well. There's so many different ones that I've played and I've loved. But an interesting one that I just played like 2 days ago, and it's kind of in a demo right now, is Aethermancer. And the reason I find it so interesting is because it is a bit of a team-based game. Because a lot of the roguelikes, you're one character and you're getting upgrades. But in this one, it's kind of like Pokemon. It's like a Pokemon type roguelike. So you start with your one Aether monster, whatever it is. And as you make it through, you can bring in other party members. But also those party members.
So are they still on the same, like at the same time, or is it like Pokemon where you like jump them in or whatever?
No, it's like, it would be like a 2-on-2 battle or 3-on-3 battle, gotcha. Or 3-on-4 battle. Like, or sometimes you fight there's like boss monsters that you fight that have like 400 health and all that stuff. And it was so interesting because it was that choice of like, do I want to bring in this monster that can shield me, or do I need another damage dealing monster? And you're building out that team. But then there was these different passes you could get where it's like every time you shield your team, it boosts the damage of your other monsters. And it's like, oh, now I'm doing two things here. Right. And it started making me think about Fateless and Godforge and how interesting you could make a team building roguelike. If you're starting with Hercules and it's like, all right, I've got a guy that can smash, I got to keep him alive. And then once you have that, it's like, okay, well, can we buff it up further, or do we want a little bit of debuffs? Right. And building up
more
that
characters?
Team.
Do I want more passives? Do I want that passive to interact?
Exactly. And the thing that I've been thinking about since we've discussed this is I think it would work best if the characters that we're bringing in are like canned stats, like they're set stats.
Well, I was going to ask you this question, right? I was going to be like, are you in this normalized camp or your account camp? Because I think throughout our team, it's probably 50-50.
Really?
To the point where we're like, we probably just don't have both game modes. Like one is, you go through it in this way, in this style, and it's like, this is purely normalized, like you say, like canned out the tin. Everyone's going to have the same stats, and then it's down to decisions and like, like that sort of meta progression that you were talking about. Yep. And then the other one is like a one-off run with your heroes, at least to start with, and then you're kind of like trying to get that godlike run with empowerment.
I think both work. Like Honkai Star Rail, it does that. It takes your gear into account, and then a lot of the bonuses they just stack on top of that, which is fine. You just have to figure out boss health and balance it that way. I think if you do with the canned characters, you maybe do it as like a goofy event where it's like intense bonuses. It's like every time Hercules attacks, it's now an AoE. Like you're completely changing the kit, and it's like this big event where if you're using your character gear, you might have to just be like a little bit careful with some of the modifiers, because it could snowball to the point like in Diablo. People are doing trillions of damage.
We've gotten to the T already,
right? Okay, right. Where in Path of Exile, it's like if you're doing like 1 million damage, that's a lot. Like they have some interactions that it gets so crazy that how do you balance a boss around 1 trillion damage? So it just, I think it comes down to balance. But I've seen really cool things in Honkai Star Rail with the roguelike system, where I'm taking my characters, my team, I'm bringing it in there, and then I'm getting bonuses that are exciting. So every time I hit him with an ice attack, it freezes everyone. That's, like a fun thing. And you can kind of build around that. And so it works. But I think the biggest thing is just, it has to be cool. It has to be cool. Yeah. I don't want 10% more damage. I want every time I hit you with a debuff, it puts another random one on there.
Well, I think this is a really good point that you're bringing up, because it sounds like a very simple, like, oh yeah, it needs to be cool, it needs to be fun. Well, okay, yeah, no shit, of course. But what you're really saying is, I want my choices, all my choices, to have an impact in what's happening throughout my run, right? So like, if you make like 50 choices and 48 of them were just like these little small, tiny little incremental ones, well, first of all, that wasn't that fun. That wasn't exciting, right? And I didn't get to do anything really expansive with who my first character was, or who the characters are that I put onto my team. And I can see what both sides of this argument, which is like, okay, thank you, sorry, I can see both sides of the argument where it's like, okay, I want this to be very normalized because I want this to be competitive, and then the other side is like, well, I want this to be not normalized because I want to use my account, and I want my resources to matter, and I want my characters to matter, and everything that I've done to have an impact. But the big thing I think that we've been kind of reviewing and deciding, and what will ultimately make the decision for us, is kind of like, well, what is the design? What are we designing this to do? What is what part of the game does this fit into? And ultimately, like, going back to what you're saying, like having very cool decisions that you have to make over and over and over again, and not just decisions that don't really matter, I think is the core of everything that you do. And that goes back to whether or not it was connected to my account, right? So like if all I have to do is play, and then I get some meta progression, and then the next time I play, I'm just better at the game. Like, and that is part of the way these roguelikes work. But is that the design we want? Or is it, well, I play and then I go off and I do something else, I build my account, and I come back, and now I'm better, and I can, and I get it for, right? So it's like, what are we looking for? And that's almost what I'm interested in, is like, what do you think a player what do you think we should be looking for? You know what I mean?
So in Honkai Star Rail, they have a bit of both. So a roguelike is, you lose everything, it's just a new run, essentially. A roguelite has that bit of meta progression. So you're going to get a currency that now you can use and be like, every time I start a run, I start with 100 shop currency. Every time I do a run, I've got 10% more defense. So you are getting stronger that way. And both work. Like, honestly, both work. And with HSR, if you start on the hardest difficulty on a new account, like, you just can't beat it until you start unlocking some of those bonuses.
Okay. Yeah, which is what you want. That's what the meta progression is for, basically, isn't it? Yeah, it gives you like long-term gameplay.
Exactly.
And it also gives you that feeling of, okay, what decisions do I think are going to impact my runs the most? And kind of like, so I've got some decision making to make as well, which again feels fun. Like that's the type of stuff that you want.
And so that's kind of one way. But the other way is I don't get any stronger, but I've unlocked new things. So I beat that boss with full HP. I now unlocked a perk that can show up in the pool where when you're at full HP, you do 35% more damage, and it's like, whoa, like this is a crazy thing. And that's another way where my characters haven't technically gotten stronger, but the options that they have are more likely to be good. And I think that for me, every roguelike that I've played that I've stuck with and enjoyed, it's taking my character and being able to do some sort of like build. So an example is in Binding of Isaac, typically you can shoot kind of one tier or like one bullet per second. But there's a thing called soy milk that it tanks your damage, but you shoot 4 bullets per second. And so it's like a machine gun. And it's like, okay, well, now if I stack that with rainbow tiers, that every single tier has a different element, and it can burn them, freeze them, slow them, all these different things. It's like, well, now I've got a build going. That feels really cool. If I can go into this roguelike with all 4 healers and still win, that is a win. That is a roguelike, in my opinion.
Well, it's doing something you can't do normally. I think that's one thing.
What I think. Yeah.
Right. That's like, pretty crucial.
I've got 4 healers, but I'm taking a perk that says everything you overheal does damage. And then it's like, if I stack up my healing percentage and all these different things, I can win the run with healers, or I could win the run with all melee, where you start the run with a trinket that says you get 50% lifesteal. So I don't have any healers, but if I hit you hard, I can sustain, and things like that. I think that is long-term what you want. It's very hard to do that because anyone building a roguelike in their game is essentially building another game. It is not.
And that's kind of the hot take. That's kind of the question mark, is like, okay, that was the biggest risk in my mind, is that if we don't directly integrate this into your account's progression plus a meta progression, right? You can and should do both. Then we basically are just saying, here is another game that you should play that does not connect to what you're doing in the other game. So you're therefore, if you like this the most, you're now incentivized to then just play this mode. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know, what do you guys, because again, like you said, it's like 50-50. We've gotten a lot of like back and forth.
Yeah, and I'm in the opinion, well, people are still playing and enjoying the game. So I don't dislike that. I mean, it's not quite the same, but I play Hearthstone Arena for a long time. Well, not for a long time. I played Hearthstone, and then now and then I'm like, I'm just gonna dip out and play Hearthstone Arena, and I'll play that then for the next 2 hours because I'm like enjoying it in the moment, and I'm enjoying the kind of like selection process, that type of stuff. And I'll have a shit run, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm just gonna end this one so I can get choosing my like deck again. And that's the fun part.
Just get this done, and we're done here.
Oh man, I'm not getting far with this. I'm just gonna go for the next run, and and I might just play that game mode for a whole session without playing any like competitive Hearthstone. But then next time I come in, it'd be like, right, back on the grind, trying to improve my rank on Hearthstone. So I don't necessarily hate the idea of someone just really enjoying a game mode and having like an extended play session of it because they're just really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's, a pretty big win if someone's like, hey, the roguelike in this game is better than some games. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm literally only playing this thing. Yeah.
Right. But it does take a lot of effort. And it's probably, something that, like, I don't know if you can even say, like, would you want to try to have something ready for launch, or is this like post launch, like this is a project that you're working on long term, or you can't say?
I think Dan would be
don't leak it. I don't want to get
this is not a leakable type of deal. I mean, we definitely are working hard on these features, and I think that we will, like we've said that we're gonna be doing it. But the timing of that, I don't know, Simon. I don't know if you've leaked this one way or the other or not.
Let's be honest. Like, we definitely want one normalized mode for launch. We want one, and we were kind of like back and forth around, should that be like the PvP type one, or should it just be like a roguelite or a roguelike? And we're kind of like toying between what would be that one feature that hits hardest when we launch. And I think because most of our player base say to us they prefer PvE instead of PvP, it feels like the PvE system would be the one that makes most sense. And PvP, honestly, for that kind of like normalized mode, we'd much rather have live gameplay rather than async. And again, that's more complicated to do and stuff, so that will probably come a bit later. But yeah, we definitely want one for launch.
You also probably want people to be much further in the game for PvP to be like, well, I know what everyone does. Right,
because otherwise you're just going in there and you're like, I just got stomped. I don't really know why.
Where if you're doing like a roguelite PvE, it's like your shields are 50% better. It's like, well, I can just tell if I have a shielder, that's going to be good. It's pretty intuitive what's going to be good and what's going to make your build better. Kind of thing. Okay, very interesting. I think there's been few games that have done it well. I think
that's what I was gonna say. Like, can you point to ones that you can think of? I know you said Honkai Star Rail. You like that. It's just
honestly, I think that's the only one where it's like this is a legitimate game, and like each big patch, they do like an expansion, and they kind of flip it on its head and change some of the mechanics. But like you can do like an ice path where everything gets frozen, and then if you hit them with more ice, it'll like shatter it and do like tons of damage, and it's like that's a build. And then there's one where it's like every time you kill something, you get an extra turn, and so you can do these like crazy single target teams, and there is literally like a healing team that can overcap their healing and kill you.
I'm always so satisfied by builds like that, but
overhealing. And then there's like kind of like a shield type thorn build, and so I would say that's one of the only games where I'm like, yeah, this roguelike is legitimately good, and it actually kept me playing, and I wanted to play it each week. But like AFK Journey, AFK Arena, all of those ones, for the most part, they're not deep enough, and they just feel like a bit of a chore. And that's my biggest thing is that's like the other scary thing. You have to be careful of like, if I don't do this roguelike this week or this month, I'm missing out on some really big rewards.
Yeah.
But that
which to be optimal, you're effectively required to do it. If you want to keep up, in a sense, you're required.
Why would you miss out on pulls or that really good armor that drops or whatever? Yep. So if you're building that system, it is something that people want to jump into and do. And so it has to be really good. The only kind of argument is if you make it almost an event instead of something that every single week and every single month you have to do, that is also an option of here's a really cool roguelike thing, pound it out, try to get your rewards, and then it goes away for a bit while we rework it.
Well, how do you feel about that? About exactly that as well. Yeah.
Okay, because that's going back to Hearthstone. I mean, they've played a lot of things, but like, what was it called? Tavern Brawl. Is that Yeah, Tavern Brawl was kind of their version of that. I don't know. How'd you guys feel about that? Because that actually ended up spawning essentially its own game, right? Whatever it's called. I'm blanking on what it's called. I haven't played.
The Battlegrounds game.
Battlegrounds. I was like Battlefield. No, that's not right. Battlegrounds. It spawned its own game. So there's really interesting perspective of like testing new modes, new game modes and stuff like that. But I don't know. How would you feel? I mean, about like something coming in, and then it's a 1 or 2 week period, and then it's like it might be 3 months before this. Maybe rotating something else, but that comes back. How do you guys feel? Well, like Brad, I feel like I thought you were gonna come in and fight him on the AFK Journey thing, but I remember that you guys eventually decided that wasn't fun. But how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah. If you guys are cooking, I just let you cook. But yeah, AFK Journey was so close on the Honor Duel side of it. I'd say Honor Duel was like a 6.5 out of 10. It was so close. But like Mike said, it just wasn't quite deep enough and all that. But I think one of the ones that did it well to go back was Clash Royale. like, you go in and you can try a crazy strategy in a crazy game mode and then share the replays with your clan and get everybody talking like, oh dude, I'm gonna try that in that event. I'm gonna try that synergy. Those two cards, they work together. And I would want a drafting phase, like the 90% of the hype of Hearthstone Arena is kind of like thinking in your head, like, oh, what synergies am I going to go for? Ooh, what do I pick here? And you're like looking up guides and all that. So I would want some sort of drafting phase in some way to try crazy things and share it with your clan and all that kind of stuff.
I think if you can't break the game, you haven't done enough.
It's not good enough.
No, like legitimately, it's like if getting HP bonuses and like in AFK Journey, they had like, I don't know, it was called the Abyss. I can't remember what it was called, but you would go in and it was like you do like 15% more damage, 10% more HP, and they're all just really, really boring. It would never actually change your character. And so it's like, well, am I strong enough to beat that boss or not? And it didn't really matter what you chose. It was more like based on your account and how it's scaling off those percentages. But like if you can go in and be like, every time a fight starts, the entire enemy team is frozen. Now it's like, okay, well, if I bring in someone that can stun them or freeze them next turn,
freezes,
right? They get unfrozen, then I do it. And it's like I can cheese stuff because I've played smart and I've made good decisions. I think that is the key.
Yeah, Mike, have you tried Balatro?
Yeah. Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah, because they have that. Like if you get the right synergy, you can just break the game. It's
I had a run where if I played one card, it was better than like a full house. Like I would just put one card on the field, didn't matter what it was, and it's like bang, 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 all these points, and it's like I win. I've seen
that. I hadn't seen the one card.
The high card build. You have to do the high card build. It's the best.
I haven't done the high card build yet. I've been doing all kinds of. I did a lot of pair stuff. Pair was fun for a while
because it's like every card left in your deck gives you a multiplier, and so like you're getting like 52 multiplier, and you like there's crazy ways you can break the game, and I would just, that would be my biggest thing is like let it cook until you can do some of those things, because it's almost that power fantasy of like, this character's good, but I can make them do something that is like absurd. And I understand that you can't always do that, but I think that's okay. It's this new way for you to express, a power fantasy. And honestly, I think it's a way where I pulled tank legendary. It's like, God damn it. Like, I have no damage dealers, but
can I try some new characters?
I can beat the game because I can do this crazy tank build with shields where it's like blowing up the shields. And that's the first person in the world to beat the roguelike. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I think
that would be fun
really
though as well,
cool
though, if it didn't need to be the legendaries, right? So if it was like, oh crap, if these two legendaries are with this uncommon and we start to get this kind of like synergy of build going, then for me, that would be like the ultimate. If we've been able to design a system where pretty much you can just experiment with any type of hero, that for me is the ultimate. Whereas, because then it's like, have you guys seen this? Have you guys seen this screenshot of what this guy's done? He's used one common and two epics, and he's like tripled what anything I've ever done.
What anybody else has ever done, right?
People do that in HSR with this girl Pela, where it's a freeze build where she like AoE freezes, and every character that gets frozen gets energy. She gets energy, and then she blows it up, and then insta kills him, gets energy, and then the next fight starts, and so she just goes wipe, and she just wipes it by herself, and so
nice.
That's the dream, and some things need to line up for that, but yeah, I think that is just so.
It definitely shouldn't be easy to achieve, and that's the thing. It almost should feel like I've got the run I was after, rather than I'm just looking for this thing, because maybe I didn't play a lot of Honor Duel, but from what I heard, it was a bit more like, okay, I'm going to start looking for these things which are not that uncommon, and I'll keep going in that direction. And I think you want
at the end of the day,
I
kind of started to go that direction. Yeah.
And I think, speaking of that, is like, I think there also needs to be downside in the roguelike, penalties or corrupted artifacts where, okay, that's going to give you
it's like a give
good bonus, but now you can't heal. You're not allowed to heal. So then, then it changes things around. It's like, okay, my shields are twice the value, but now I can never heal. So it's like, you're building a team around these things. And that stuff is very, very enjoyable as well, is like that risk versus reward. And sometimes you brick your run, and that's the beauty of it. It's like,
right,
yeah, I should have done
a story.
that.
It's a story for everybody.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And you're like, God damn it. Like, why did I choose that thing? But that's part of the story and that hype moment, or when it works and it allows you to beat something you couldn't, then it's like, oh, that was a beautiful decision. Like I got a big brain, and it's an ego booster.
Well, and this is the other question. This is the kind of the hot topic of like, should it end? Right. So like what's your stance on infinitely running until you die versus X number, 30 levels or 20 levels or 20 or 15, whatever it is, X number of places where there's an end result?
I mean, I think if at the end of the run you did some sort of leaderboard and you had like waves of enemies and then throw in boss enemies, and it was like almost like a boss rush or enemy rush. And then they just get exponentially harder until eventually you're going to get one shot by a common mob. It could be cool. And then you could do like a leaderboard of like the most points, and it's like, who can find the most broken build?
Who's find the most abusive like revive build or something?
Yeah, exactly.
And, but the thing is, like at the end of the week, it's okay. What tiered? So in terms of rewards, so I don't think you should just get tons of rewards every time you do it. But it's like, okay, at the end of the week, where did I sit on the leaderboard? And therefore, what kind of like tier of rewards did I get? Or if I get to a certain level, I get maximum rewards, something along those lines. But ultimately, there needs to be a leaderboard for it to be competitive. And then you've got this kind of like back and forth with your buddies that I'm sitting number 4. This was my run. And people to go in and see what you did and be like, oh, crap. I didn't expect that to be the direction, but cool. Like they're sitting amongst the top group. Yeah. There's still the reward element, but there's also just the competitive, I want to do better than I normally do element. For those that want to play it a lot. If you just want to play it, do one run and done, and then you get your weekly reward, and that's your style, because it's not really your game mode, then it doesn't mean you've got to put tons of time and effort in to sort of grind it out every week. So there's a bit of balance there. But if it's something you just enjoy, then you go again. And
maybe there's some heroes that are generally really good. And then there's like some specialists that it's like, if you pick that character and you get these bonuses, like you can break the game. And like, that's kind of fun too.
Well, and that's always the exciting thing about like, as these games progress, right? Because we'll have like a meta that the game will start with, right? If we were to do a game mode like this, there will be like you said, there's gonna be some characters that work really well together. There's gonna be some equipment or whatever bonuses that work with those characters. And then as we release new characters, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's actually really this character that used to be terrible, like maybe freeze just or sleep just didn't really work because you knocked them out. But then there's a new upgrade or a new character that you can synergize with, and like that's the fun of these types of modes, right? Because I think it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting as things progress, like how we're gonna go from, okay, I've got this really stale meta that's not fun. It's like how long that period needs to be. I think that's the other question in my mind is like, okay, I've got this meta, it's evolved. People have kind of like essentially, I don't want to say solved it, because it's going to be pretty hard to solve with hundreds of characters and tons of things. But it's like it's been solved. How long does you think it needs to be from, okay, it's been solved, to, okay, there's new characters and there's new stuff that you can find kind of in a roguelike? Or is it just like, it should be okay to be solved and people will keep resolving it?
Yeah, I mean, as the pool of characters grows, then that changes it. Every bonus, you have to start thinking like, does that change things? Does that change the meta? So I think naturally that changes it. But all of a sudden you add in nightmare relics, where if something's sleeping, they get like nightmare damage. Like, what I'm saying? Like you can make it so like all these sleep champions are all of a sudden god tier, and like it does change it up. And it could be a seasonal thing where it's like every 3 months or every 6 months, there's just like an overhaul where it's like, hey, here's a couple new bonuses that change the game. And that's what they do in HSR, is like they add in, they call it like a path. And so they added in like the propagation path, which was like normal attacks. And so people that had really boosted up normal attacks or like single target could hit really hard. And then they added in one that was like, I can't remember the name, but it was all based on like using your energy and using your ultimate ability. Okay. And it's getting like more value. And if you kill someone with it, you get all your energy back. And so it's like anyone who's got a crazy ultimate is more valuable here. And can I funnel energy into that person to then pop off even more? And so, every time you add something like that, some person's roster just got a complete upgrade. And it's like, oh my God, now I can get to the top of the leaderboard. And I think that that's a really cool feeling of, you know, just what I said is like, I've got all the craziest tanks and shielders in the game. All of a sudden you add these new perks in and I can make the craziest shielding.
You can make an insane
ever,
build. Yeah.
Where you can't kill me. And it takes me 5 hours to the run. Like not really, but like I can push to the furthest wave because you cannot kill me. And like, that's kind of a flex. Like it's
it's kind of well, and then you're talking about that. Like once you hit a limit of or a certain number of characters, there's kind of like this idea of like there's so many options that the pool becomes almost like too complicated to really parse in your mind, if you know what I mean. Like how are you guys feeling about a limited pool? Because that was another thing that was brought up. Like what if it was like a limited, like talking about the seasonal idea, you got a limited pool of characters and maybe they're normalized, maybe they're not, whatever, but there's certain characters that just literally cannot come in. How do you feel? Are you like, oh my God, that's BS, I pulled this amazing champion and now I can't use it? Like, are you in that camp, or are you like, no, that's cool, a limited pool is
Wuthering Waves does that. So, and it's kind of like a little season. So there's kind of a finite amount of rewards. You go, you play through it, you use all the different characters, you unlock the things, and it's like, all right, I'm done.
Like
and then I move on. So it just kind of depends. Is it something that you want someone to just keep theory crafting it and hammer out and just be like, this is fun, I want to keep playing it? Or is it like, this is a fun activity that we do for a few days? When a new patch launches, we grind that out when we don't have any other tasks to do. And then we move on from it. It's really going to depend. And it's definitely a big design decision on how to do that. But the fact that you're even asking these questions is good, because I'm telling you, some of these games are just strapping together these like tower roguelikes where there's no choice, there's no variation. It doesn't really matter what you do and what you don't do. And they just feel like a chore that I have to do each week.
Super boring, right? You do it maybe once or twice and you're just like, I do not want to do that again. I just want it to be, I want to click a button that says, skip me through it all now.
Right.
Yeah.
Finish.
Right? And that's not where you want to be for a game mode like this. It just, it's terrible.
Yeah. And sometimes, sometimes it's not even like how you've leveled up your characters. It's how you've leveled up even like the economy. So it's like at the end of a fight, you get nothing but gold. And so you have to go to the shops. And then you find another thing that's like the shop prices are 50% less. And it's like, oh, so now I'm getting gold and the shops are cheaper. And it's like a different way to build your account. And or every time you get a new perk, you lose like a maximum percentage of your HP, but they're free from the shop. Like it's like blood transactions, stuff like that is like, I can get hyper strong at a cost, and stuff like that, I think is like the key to making it a roguelike. Because like we're talking, I've got probably 300, 400, 500 hours in Binding of Isaac. I've got like 200 or 300 in Enter the Gungeon. Why did I keep playing that game so much? Because I don't know what the next run is going to be. Can I beat it? I use a different character that's got slightly different bonuses. Like there's one character called the Lost that can fly but can only get hit once. But you can enter spike rooms that normally you couldn't. You can enter different areas and get more currency from like riskier places because you don't have to traverse the lava or whatever it is. So when you start adding all these different characters in, you can get cool things going that it makes someone think, one more run. I want to try one more thing.
That mix of tension and excitement. Yeah.
So
one more run. I mean, I do figure like it'd be really interesting to hear what people say in the comments, like what types of games that they're really interested in, and like what they think that we should do. Right? If it was like best case scenario, what would be the roguelike or roguelite? Would it be seasonal? Would it be rotating? Would it be limited? Would it be normalized? It'd be awesome to hear what people think about it, because like we ask a lot and we love to hear stuff the people say on Discord, but I don't know. Now we've had a pretty deep and open conversation about how we're thinking about it, to be real. Dan may or may not be salty. Simon is.
Well, we've not said what we are doing. We've just said
right. True.
We've asked what we think's cool. Right?
Conversation.
Hey.
There's so much that goes into it that's tough. But yeah.
But so
all right. So what are we leaking? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I figure like the one thing I do want to come back to is congratulations, by the way, on what's going on in your life, the family growing.
Thank you.
And just yeah, I mean, like, big appreciation for what you've been doing at Fateless and all the help that you've, all the insights you've brought in and stuff like that. But we still have to ask you this question at the end, and I'm gonna let Mr. Brad kind of ask it, because I don't know if we've asked.
Have we ever asked you?
I don't know.
Your favorite like hero to make sure we include in the game, or
If we have.
Even if we have. Last time? Okay.
He doesn't remember. So that's fine. We got to go.
Okay. Well, as long as that's the case. Okay. So we always on the way out like to get people's perspective and gut reaction on the setting of our game. So what is someone that comes to mind that we haven't leaked yet or talked about yet publicly or anything that you would be like, I really hope we get this hero in the game? And do you have like a personal favorite?
Ooh, yeah. I think, I've always liked any sort of like kind of like Greek mythology type stuff, because it just seems cool. Like the stories you hear about Troy and Hector and all these different things, and like I love that. I would love Achilles. I would love some sort of like Achilles where he is just this like unbelievably good fighter, like unbelievably versatile PvP unit or PvE. It doesn't matter. He's Achilles, and maybe have some sort of duality to that, almost like a roguelike, where it's like insanely strong but has a very hard counter.
It's his heel, I guess.
Yeah. Like I don't know what it will be. Like maybe as a joke is like you can't heal Achilles. Like I don't know.
I was gonna say like what's the design?
Cool, yeah.
Let's hear it. We can't confirm or deny any of this.
Yeah. So I don't know. I definitely like Achilles. I also think that it would be very cool. Is like kind of David versus Goliath, where David is some sort of like tank killer or something like that, where is able to take out bosses or is able to take out.
It's confirmed we've got giants. It's confirmed we've got giants.
There are giants.
I have to disqualify you because Achilles has been leaked already, so that's public knowledge.
Ooh, okay.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to ask, because if you ask, it's like
I double checked. I double checked to make sure. So that one does not qualify. MTash.
Okay. So yeah, I think like David and just like the scrawniest guy. Like and that's the thing is my big hope too is like if we play some of these other, like a lot of the anime games, it's just like every character is like hot character. Yeah. I want like this big fat Scotsman that's just like, I'm gonna roll you. You better watch out, laddie. And he's just going in there swinging a bagpipe, and it's like, that is my boy. Or like I want like a big girl, and she is just like a milkmaid that is destroying everyone. Like that's the dream. Or scrawny little David. I'm talking.
Scrawny little David is your go-to.
With a slingshot.
Oh, yeah. With a little slingshot and a white cloth. But
we
he hits like a
truck. Confirmed that or denied it. We haven't said anything about that.
I like the idea of the big Scotsman swinging a bagpipe.
That's pretty good. Plus, we need you on that VO, man. Like you're good to go on those voiceovers.
I've already been talking to Norbert about it. I'm going to do some just some stuff for a couple of the characters, just some like noises for potentially
like grunt. Like
just to test things to see what that sounds like. Do we want that? Like, how much do we want? Because it is something that we talked about in the last roundtable, is like when someone says a voice line for the 500th time, do you want to hear it or are you raging? Because some games don't do it right. And it's like Navi in Zelda.
Oh yeah.
Hey! It's like, whoa! Listen.
It's like chill out.
Well, MTash, on the way out, can you give the people? Do you have like a famous impersonation you can do live here?
Yeah, let's go.
Can I put you on the spot?
Here, we'll do a rapid fire. Okay. What's ones that people are gonna know? Okay, I'll do a rapid fire. Ready? Hi everybody, my name's Emma. Today I'm playing Godforge. Oh, Mickey. Yo! Oh, Goofy. I could do you want to know what really grinds my gears? And what would that be, Peter? All these people telling me to do voice impressions on the fly. Can't really do it. Hey, Peter. Sometimes they just want to see your talent in action. It's pretty exciting when he... I know. There's like different things.
Love it, man. Great job.
Wow, that was so good. Holy shit.
We got to turn that into a YouTube short. That's awesome. Love it. It's done. Well,
Love
hey
it.
guys, this has been fun. M-Tash, thanks for joining us. Sham, Simon, great to see you as always. And we will have links over to M-Tash's content on the YouTube side of things. He's a part of the team and going to be there with us for the long haul. And then we'll have the links for Discord and all of that if you would like to share your input on design decisions here at Godforge. Appreciate all of you. And guys, you want to plug GDC? I know you're going on the way out here.
If people are in the San Francisco area, come and look us up. We've got some info out on socials. Like if you literally are going to GDC or around that place, you can come and see the cinematic live as we launch it. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
A banger.
Yeah. Looking forward to that. The cinematic should be public in about 2 weeks from when this video goes live. So super hyped about that. But yeah, cheers guys. We'll see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Have a good day.